सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Let's chant the seventh mantra. न अन्तः प्रज्ञं न बहिष्प्रज्ञं न उभयतः प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानघनं न प्रज्ञं नाप्रज्ञम् अदृष्टम् अव्यवहार्यम् अग्राह्यम् अलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदेश्यम् एकात्मप्रत्ययसारं प्रपञ्च उपशमं शान्तं शिवम् अद्वैतं चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः। In reflecting upon the Zoom session that we had and your questions and where your mind is at, as I indicated on my WhatsApp message, I would like to base it on that point and not really vary from the seventh mantra, stick with it, but to elaborately describe the teaching with respect to your questions and the answers and so on. So there are certain laws of life that we should be aware of. We know them, but we should be aware of. One of them is that two or three different aspects of the law. One is that for us to know something or to do something, in either case, there are stages. And the stages are meant to go forward in the sense that if you feel you have achieved certain understanding or certain ability to do, then you need to go forward a little bit. Cannot just stay at that point. For example, let's talk the example of exercising. Supposing you have some weakness in the muscle, which I do. I have a lot of, it's starting to become a major thing in my life at this stage, where muscles have atrophied and you have to really do some exercise to build it up and so on. All those. So Supposing you were to lift some weight and somebody says, okay, start with 5 pounds. Now, after a while, you become comfortable in being able to do 5 pounds. Before that, 5 pounds was too much. Now, dumbbells of 5 pounds is okay. But you cannot just stay at that point. The next thing to do is to look at dumbbells that are 10 pounds. And then once you're comfortable with that, go to 15 pounds. So the whole idea is that you really need to push forward. So this is the case of doing things. Now the same thing applies in knowing things. So as we know that it is not that you can grasp the ultimate understanding immediately. So you have to build up the ability to understand. So let's take the aspects of life that require certain viveka, certain discrimination. So for example, supposing you are you're becoming an expert in colors, as we have seen before. So there is a certain preliminary stage, there is an intermediate stage, and there's an advanced stage. And so in understanding of colors, very easy for a youngster to be told this is yellow, this is blue, the name of that is red. These are the preliminary stages. Then you can distinguish between shades of the same color. Very interesting if you look at, I drive a car which is red in color. This is the Mustang Mach-E from Ford. And when I selected the color, everybody in my family was saying, what are you doing? But I thought, let's try something new. But now since then I've found that the red color in cars has become very popular, but there are certain shades of the color that seem very strange. Why would anybody do this? There are so many shades of the red color, is really all I'm saying. So this is the intermediate stage. Then there is an advanced stage where even subtle variations can make a difference. And so I was telling you that in my wife's business, she's an expert in doing that. Sometimes I would, she brings home certain samples from San Francisco because her client wants a certain look, and it's all an integrated look. So there's drapes and sofas and all have to be mixed. So she brings all this up, and they all look pretty much the same to me, but not to her. She says, no, this I think would go better. So this is an advanced stage. I'm doing all this to show you, to tell you that the understanding of Vedanta is also like that. Because the basic ingredient in Vedanta means an understanding of life, or who are we, what's happening to me, where am I going, where is God, what is my relationship. This is Vedanta. The very basic fundamental stuff of life is Vedanta. And so in this manner, in this subject, not in this manner, but in this subject, Viveka is the main ingredients. Just like in the case of colors, same thing, by the way, in terms of taste, tea tasters, aroma, particle physics. In all shades, there are stages of understanding which require an effort to go beyond what you already understand. That's the point I'm making. And there comes a point where you don't need it anymore. You're done. So there is a point. It's not as though, this is a very important point, and I will actually build on it, that you cannot keep on doing it endlessly. There is, in fact, a point where you say, I'm done. A good example of that is strengthening your muscles. Let's say you have broken a bone, and so the bone has to heal, and you need some crutches. And so in the beginning you need some very heavy crutches, but as your bone heals, the crutches also become a little finer. You can go with something with, first of all, maybe you do on both sides. Then maybe you can just take a stick. There comes a point where you don't need anything. That's the point you want to reach. Until then, you get incremental advances. So the viveka of incremental advances comes up to a point. In the end, you don't need anything. And this is what we have to discuss. What is the point? Where do we go? How do we achieve that point? There's so much clarity on this. It is just amazing. So now, to summarize, what I would say is this. In Vedanta also, there are basic Vedanta, preliminary stage. Then there is kind of, you can say this is kind of like high school. You're given the basics of what is drik, what is drishya, all the viveka that is necessary, sadhana chatushtaya, anthakarana shuddhi. So all of this is discussed in the intermediate stage. Then language also is very important, understanding of words, the right kind of language, hopefully Sanskrit. And if you don't know Sanskrit, at least your teacher should know Sanskrit and be able to translate it. And so all of this is what I would call intermediate level Vedanta. We have discussed this before. Intermediate level Vedanta, just like in the case of particle physics and so on also, there is a certain undergraduate level of particle physics. Then, to really understand the science of particle physics, E is equal to mc square, and even beyond that, I don't know. You need to have graduate level instruction, graduate level preparation. So this is true for that also. Same thing is true in Vedanta. So the intermediate level is you have to study Panchakosha Viveka, then you have to study, this is exactly what we are doing in Mandukya Upanishad, Avasthatraya Viveka. So you have Jagrat Avastha, you have Swapna Avastha, you have Sushupti Avastha, and then you have Turiya, which is none of those, that is all three of them. This is Avasthatraya Viveka. Similarly, in Taittiriya Upanishad and other Upanishads, we have Panchapakosha Viveka, Manomaya Kosha, and all of those. So this is all intermediate level. And then you have to study Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, all of those this is all intermediate level. Okay? There is an advanced level Vedanta. And this is what I would like to focus on. And I will be frank with you that for a lot of the years in my life, I was both trying to understand the intermediate level Vedanta and also teach at that level. Whatever I could understand, whatever my aspirations were, I would also discuss that with you. And having those so many classes and so on really helped me to clarify. So it's a stage of development. Then comes a point in your life where you say, I know the intermediate level. I want to reach the final goal. And that means complete freedom from problems while I'm alive. Not after this life, now. What is keeping me from doing that? This is what my life is. And when I began the teaching of Mandukya Upanishad with Karika, if you recall, if you don't recall, if you want to go back, please listen to my classes. And I had made a pratigya that I want to now focus on advanced level Vedanta. And advanced level Vedanta has many aspects. One of them is Advaita, not Dvaita. Not just Viveka, but the end of Viveka. Not just getting better and better and better support systems, but leave all support systems. Swami Akhandananda has, I was reading this, he was explaining the word Kaivalya. Beautiful explanation of Kaivalya. I'll do that some other time. I don't want to get distracted. That is the end point. That is Jivan Mukti. How? What do I need to do? What do I need to know? This is my focus in life. And consistent with that, whatever teaching I want to do now is not at the intermediate level, but at this level. This is advanced Vedanta. This is the third stage of Viveka, if you want to do that. And I don't have that much time left. I just want to focus on that. And I've already indicated to you that how I'm going to do that. This is what's going to be my focus. So what I'd like to do is to explain what that is and also to encourage you to not just be comfortable in studying various texts which I consider to be intermediate level Vedanta, but to really do the introspection, if you want to call it Nididhyasanam, call it anything. These are all words. But really see what is happening in your life. What do I need to do to complete the whole premise of Vedanta? The promise of Vedanta. What is it that I need to do? This is what we need to focus on. And if you feel that this is different from what you're doing and you don't want to really participate in that, that is your choice. But this is what I'm going to do. Okay? And I could tell from, the analogy that I had given about watching a movie, that I felt that most of your questions that he had on the Zoom session involved were, how do I not be affected with what I see? This is exactly what happens in our life. Our life is like a movie. It is a movie. It's not like a movie. In fact, I should say the movie is like our life. That's a better way to put it. That's just a simplification of what our life is. This is why it's very interesting. I cannot believe every social get-together we go to. And I have to really thank my wife. How she has put up with me in my life is just amazing. Just a couple of days ago, we were at a social get-together, about 5 or 6 people. And the normal thing came up is, what movies have you watched recently? And there was a lot of discussion. Oh, I like this. Have you done this? Have you done that? And so on. Oh, I'm sitting there, and my poor wife is also sitting with me. And we now have to pretend that we are sort of understanding what it is. Do not watch movies, and I don't feel like watching movies. There was the last movie I saw. Actually, I saw 2 movies in the last, I'd say 5 years. 2 movies. One was a American movie, and one was an Indian movie. And both had some very specific, I had some reasons for doing it. One, the American movie was Oppenheimer. The reason I wanted to do that was because I knew some of the characters who were involved in the atomic bomb development at the Lawrence Radiation Lab when I was a student at Berkeley. And I used to have my summer job was the Lawrence Radiation Lab, and my boss would point out, this guy has won that Nobel Prize, that guy has won. And so I had some familiarity with it. And so when this movie came out, I wanted to sort of experience that part. Needless to say, it was so boring. It was just, I wanted to get up in the middle of it. There was really nothing much that I could learn. And so the second movie that I saw was Article 370, on how that was done by Modi ji and Amit Shah in Kashmir. And I'm very interested in that Indian political and development scene. I do a lot on my free time. I really do a lot of podcasts, and I'm very involved with that. I'm not concerned with the American politics. Whatever happens, happens. So my mind is on Indian politics. So I saw that. Anyway, that's it. Those are the 2 movies. So when we go out to these parties, I have to pretend as though I am sort of interested. But I'm not. Because the whole life, to me, is a very interesting movie. And the teaching of Vedanta says, you need to examine the life in that manner. Do it. Do it in that manner. Because what happens when you do that, and this is an extension of the teaching after the Zoom, this is all now part of that. What happens is that instead of just being a participant, which we are, we cannot avoid being a participant in this movie. Of course you are, naturally. But apart from being a participant, you need to develop the skill of seeing what is happening in your life. With the help of the Shastra, with the help of the teaching, and it will tell you a lot of points which will enable you to watch the whole life as a movie. As an example, let me just tell you that, just now. One of our cardinal principles of life is that I am very attached to my own family members. I look upon them differently from others, especially if they are immediately related to me, if they are my children, my grandchildren, even more than my brothers and sisters. So there's a certain way of looking at different people and so on. We are closest to our own immediate family. So that becomes your view as a participant in your life. Very natural. It is very natural that you have a certain view towards the children. What Shastra says is, now begin to look upon your family as an example. This is not the only thing, but just since we are taking an example. Now begin to look upon your family as a movie. How so? What does it mean? It means a lot. It means you view them as a separate individual, just like you deal with lots of other separate individuals. They have, just because they are born from your body, that is just a incident of life which is necessary, but your relationships, your thinking, your attachment, your emotions, and so on, look upon them as a very involved movie. You know, this is what I remember the words of Swami Chinmayananji. That's what I used in my eulogy for my friend the other day. It is very normal for us to see that people come into your lives and leave you. See, I'll give you another example. I'll just example of my attitude that I'm trying to inculcate to look upon the life as a movie. Okay, I'll give you another example. I talked about the children, but that's another one. One of them is, how do you view the people that you were associated with at one time? Like high school, college, graduate colleges, work environment. If you have moved on, to what degree do you keep in touch with the people that you used to be with? Okay, this is another example. What I find is that if you are a participant in the movie, then you know what you will do? You will keep in touch with them. You will, I see this all the time. People are saying, I just went to the 25th reunion of my college. I find people going to India for the 50th reunion, or 50th is a little bit high. But I see this all the time. I would rather admit to you, I can't even remember the names of the people that I went to high school with. College, maybe a few more. Work at IBM when I used to do, maybe a couple of them. They're gone from my life. I want to just move on. I don't want to just keep on strengthening bygone relationships. You might think that I am heartless, but you know what? Don't think so. For me, I just want to focus on what I'm involved in at any one time. And what is gone, and I don't worry about what is going to come. This is another example. Going back to the children now, Shastra says, please look upon your family as a, not as a, you cannot help it to a certain extent. Like, for example, if my son says, Mom and Dad, I need you because there's no babysitting available and you have to take care of it. I cannot look upon this request easily, dismiss it. I have a certain responsibility for doing babysitting and so on and so forth. So this is part of your duty. This is part of what is necessary to be done. This is nimitta naimittika karma. But then to be attached to them to an extent where I worry about them, I feel very good when they go to a good college, and I don't worry about others. This is unnecessary. Enjoy them, children. And also, in going back to Swami Chinmayananda's example that I was mentioning, that life is like in going on a train, where people get on the train, sit together with you, and you become friends, and you become very good friends, and then they leave you. And where they are going, it's up to them. And if you want, you do not start a lifelong friendship on something that you, they are gone. Do you know something? Shastra says, it is the same thing with children. If there was something bad should happen, as many times, that's one of the worst things that can happen, is that your children can pass away before you do. I hope that never happens, but it does. They have gone to, they are Ishvara's children, not your children, not my children. He will take care of them in their own way. There was an intimate relationship while it lasted, but that's okay. You have your own life, they have their own life. So this is the view of life as a movie. And so the intermediate level of living, and you can call it intermediate level of Vedanta and so on, is to be involved with them to a certain extent. No doubt about it. But if you want to have freedom, you need to stop watching the movie and examine who you are, who is watching the movie. This is what we have to do. This is the advanced Vedanta. Doesn't mean that you stop watching the movie. You cannot just close your eyes and say, I don't want to be involved and so on. You can't do that, because this is what happens when people, you have youngsters, high school people and so on, who love to sleep in. They work hard during the week and so on, but then over the weekend, they don't just get up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. They just want to sleep in, 10, 11 sometimes, and so on. And they love it because they're so relaxed and they're nice and sleepy. But their karmas wake them up. You'll say, okay, let's not disturb them. Let them wake up they wake up on their own. What karmas wake them up? They have a lot to do and they have to go on with it. So you cannot stop watching the movie. That's not the point. But the advanced Vedanta says enough in watching the movie. Understand who is creating the movie. And there is a lot of things to learn on that. And the sooner you do that, the better off you will. Why? Because the movie will change and go away. But you, who is the producer of the movie, will not change, will not go away. You will discover something very amazing about you as a producer of the movie. You just don't know what that is. If you did, adrishtam avyavaharyam, achintyam avyapadeshyam. This is the producer of the movie, my dear. Are you ready to... Words of Swami Khandananda come to me. He says, you have to change the direction of your vision. What is the word he uses for... He says, आपको चिंतन की दिशा बदलनी होगी. चिंतन की दिशा बदलनी होगी. I remember the sentence that he said. Chintan ki disha means the direction of your thinking. Your thinking is the same, but what you are thinking about needs to change. At a certain point, you have to say, enough of thinking about what I see. And we will now examine it. Let's just look at it. I want to just do this in a very systematic manner. Okay? Okay. So, we'll discuss this in considerable detail at some point in time, but I'll give you a summary. Before we do that, our objective in life for everyone is exactly the same. Exactly the same. Which is, I want to be happy without any conditions. Without any dependency. Dependency is what's keeping me from being happy. The fact that I want to be happy is very known to everyone. But so the fact is that you cannot ask somebody, do you want to be happy in the morning or in the evening? Inside the house or outside the house? Well, you are married or you're divorced. So there's no conditionality. But I don't know how to do that. So the objective of everybody is the same. I want to be happy without any conditions. And the ultimate conditions are hunger and thirst. Life and death. Is it possible to be happy regardless of that? Shastra says yes, 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 yes. So everybody wants to really be happy. Now there are 4 general methods that we used in order to increase our level of happiness. This is what the Shastra says. He says, please examine this. This is kind of like watching a movie, but watching, this is what happens. We like to go to movies that are very pleasant. And so there are 4 ways of being happy in your life. So let's go through that. Number 1 is, you can say, is karma and dharma. Karma and dharma. So what this requires is, what it means is, and I won't go into a lot of details, but just to give you a feeling of it, is to be, this is exactly what happens when the child is born. It's all over the place. It doesn't know what it wants to do, how to be. And so the parents train the child to be focused, to be committed to study, to be loyal to what you want to be focused, dedicate. And this is what happens. Our karma and dharma teaches us in all our life that there is a lot of happiness if you are committed to things. The whole marriage system in India, it's all because of that. That it really is, don't spend your whole life in trying to figure out who should I marry. Just make a decision to the best of your ability, because it doesn't really matter. What matters is how you lead a life with that commitment. Where you have problems which will inevitably come, how you deal with them. So the commitment, dedication, focus this is how karma and dharma is involved in. And part of that is also, and this is very, very important to see, that getting married and then having children these are all steps in this direction. Because when you are single, you can go with lots of people, some good, some not so good, some have good habits, some of them lead you away. But then once you get married, you cannot just go around with people and so on. You have to stick with the discipline of the home. And so this really improves your karma and dharma. Having children is even more, because now you cannot just say, I want to have 8 hours of sleep. Those of you that have children, you'll say, those days go. The child gets up. I was just talking to my son the other day. I said, how was the light last night? He said, oh, yeah, they got up a couple of times and my sleep was disturbed. We have a joke I think I heard this joke from somebody. It says, how did you sleep last night? He said, I slept like a baby. Really? Yep. I got up every hour and cried. This is called sleeping like a baby. So part of the karma and dharma is that when you have children, you not only think about yourself, you think of someone else. This is part of the karma and dharma. And our commitment to some social causes like Aim for Seva is part of that. Is, so that you, this is very interesting. I think Swami Khendananda had given this, I had discussed this in the Sailorsburg retreat. This was, Swami Khendananda had pointed this out really beautifully. He said, look at the law of life. The law of life is something gets separated from you that you hold, it's a cause of dukkha. You don't like it. You don't like it. Something that you have and it is taken away from you is the reason for unhappiness. Simple example is you have some money and for some reason the money was taken away from you. Either you lost it, it was stolen from you, or you lost it in the stock market. Whatever it is, it's a cause of problems. On the other side, if you have something and you give it away on your own, it turns exactly the opposite. It becomes a cause of happiness. You feel so much better about it. Having lost the same amount of money. This is what happens in our charity. That when we give some money into the charity, it's lost. That money is gone. But do you think that it causes you unhappiness? No. Yeah, your bank balance goes down a little bit, but you feel better for it. So, Swami Khendananda also points this out in the same, all the acharyas, Swami Chinmayananji, Swami Dayanandji, all that said the same thing. That if you want to hold on to your children and their time spent with you, if you want to really become obsessive about it, you're going to create a problem for yourself. Why? Because supposing you want your children to be in touch with you, must call me. It's okay if the children are young. Our granddaughter, she just graduated from high school and she and her friends went to Europe for a week, 2 weeks. So it is very natural for the parents to say, please call every day. If not, to let us know you're okay. This is wonderful. But suppose the same daughter has now gone to college and she's doing very well. Everything is going well. Even then, after that, she gets married. To expect the children to call you when they don't, if they don't, so just look at this. This is the next level from the money. If the child does not call you, it is like losing your expectation, like losing money. It's going to cause you a problem. Just like losing money causes you a problem, your children not calling you regularly is going to cause a problem. Law of life is exactly like the water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. Law of life. If someone doesn't return your love when you expect it, you're going to be unhappy. On the other side, if you allow the children to be independent, happy, give them any support if they need it. But if you feel, I've done my job, I have created a child that is now independent, who, has good health and so on. This is like deciding to give away money. You're no longer attached to it, you are giving them some love. This is a cause of happiness. So this is all part of the first. This is watching a movie through karma and dharma. So this is one of them. Another one is what would be called bhoga and tyaga. Bhoga and tyaga. So as we know, an intermediate level of pleasure is to eat well, to visit various places in the world. This is called bhoga. So have the pleasure of going to different restaurants, watching different movies, going to places, watching, visiting new places and so on and so forth. This is all bhoga. There comes a point where you say, this is dependency-based happiness. And to discover a sense of happiness without it is the next level. You are happy whether you go to a good restaurant or not. You're happy with just normal, healthy food. And to be happy about it, to feel good about it. Not to go to various places and just be happy with wherever you are, be involved. This is a tyaga. And so this is the second method of happiness. The first one was karma and dharma. The second one is bhoga and tyaga. The third one is shraddha and ishvara. And what you find is this is a very valid reason to be shanta, to be peaceful and to be happy. which is to have good habits, going to temples, learning to chant, observing fasts, doing puja at your home to Ishvara. This is not karma and dharma, it is not bhoga and tyaga, it is shraddha and bhakti. This is the third method of living to increase your sense of happiness. And we all do that. We're very fortunate if we discover that we belong to a certain spiritual, religious, and you follow that, you pray, you have a certain relationship with God. All of that is so beautiful, and it really helps you to be more peaceful and to be happier. So this is the third method. Fourth method is study, viveka, meditation, and yoga. Now all these are, it's not as though they are completely independent from each other. They're all somewhat related. But nevertheless, this is in fact a separate way to gain happiness. And here, all the methods of controlling the mind, reducing the amount of thinking. You know, this is the Buddhist Vipassana yoga, and just staying with yourself, normal Ashtanga yoga. We know all the steps, all the 8 steps, and slowly becoming dharana, dhyanam, and then savikalpa samadhi, then nirvikalpa samadhi, and meditation, and just staying with yourself. Doesn't involve all the other things, karma, dharma, bhakti, etc. So this is another and the last method of doing that. So this is what we do. We can choose between any one of them. We do. Even the so-called wise wisdom in each one of these areas is available on karma and dharma, on tyaga, on Ishvara bhakti, and on yoga. All this is available from how to do it, the discipline for it, and we adopt one or the other of these, or a combination of these really, in order to become a little bit happier in our life. These are the choices. So this is what is called, so now comes Advaita Vedanta. What does it say about these 4? It says, my dear, this is like watching a movie. You're not done. We do not find anyone in the entire history of mankind who has achieved a sense of freedom from all problems by adopting one of these 4. Not possible. These are what is called upaya. Upaya is a very, very beautiful in Sanskrit word. Really just absolutely amazing. Upaya means a method. A method. And it comes from the prefix upa and aya. Upa means close, just like an Upanishad. The word means something that you adopt, something you adhere to, you get acquainted with. It becomes yours. Aya means something where it stays with you. It stays, so upaya means something that you adopt as a method. So the Shastra says, a method is finally to give up. A method is meant for achieving something. And in the achievement of something, the upaya is given up. I was reading this very beautiful sentence. I'll say that in Sanskrit. Upadaya apihiyante upayaha ste prakirtitaha. Upadaya apihiyante upayaste prakirtitaha. It means the value of an upaya is finally to give it up, having achieved what you want to do. Typical example is that of supposing you want to cross a river. You want to go from, you can say from one end of the river to the other edge of the river. And so you hire a boat. You get into a boat. And you tell the person, I want to go on the other side. He says, sure. The boat is an upaya. When you reach the other shore, you give up the boat, don't you? You cannot just keep sitting in it. This is the method in Advaita Vedanta. We've already talked about it quite a bit, and I will bring it up again. Adhyaropa apavada. And karma, dharma, bhoga, tyaga, shraddha, and yoga are adhyaropas. Ultimately, you have to give them up. This is advanced Vedanta. How do I give it up? To what? To what? This brings us to the 7th verse. So the first verse says, the first part of the verse says, na antah pragyam na bahish pragyam. You're involved in the antah pragyam. You're involved in it effortlessly. With the moment you wake up in the morning, you have thoughts in your mind. Okay, what's next? What should I do? Something has to be done. Something has to be done. And you go around with it. then come giving it all up. And giving it all up means how? Because I can't, I have my natural instincts in life are that I'm a living being and I have to do something. I have a purpose. I have to think. I have to do. I was trying to look at, there was a very beautiful passage that I saw in the book by Swami Akhandananda. Anyway, I think we're running out of time, so I won't go into that. Maybe next time. Anyway, now we go to the advanced Vedanta. The advanced Vedanta is you are not just watching a movie, you are the producer of the movie. You do not even realize that you are the producer of the movie. It's possible. Movie's going on. And that's not possible in the not real life, but in Vyavaharika life, because the person will know I'm the producer. Here, in the natural, as we will see, in the natural life, you in fact are not just what you see, but the seer. You are the Drik Swarupa. And the Drik Swarupa is the producer, the director. But you have to be convinced of it. You don't believe in it. You don't know it. You don't know how to, as I was explaining this in the, I made the comment, in not a question of giving up to it. You have to explore it. How? Because you're not convinced. So for this purpose, what I'm going to do, to give you an idea, just to give you an introduction to this shift from what you are seeing to what the seer is, it's a very beautiful explanation given in this, in the Drikdrishya Viveka, which we have studied. And I think this will be wonderful for us to explore this change of vision from what I'm seeing to the seer in terms of what Drikdrishya Viveka has explained. And Swami Akhandananda has made a beautiful commentary on it. I'm actually thinking, I think I told you this already, that to replace the Tuesday night class, I'm going to have a series of podcasts, shorter duration, which will actually follow a very systematic introduction to the depth of Drikdrishya Viveka. So I'm actually, I haven't spent a lot of time on it, but I'm going to, and I will release these broadcasts that you can watch and listen to at your own leisure. So this topic will come to that in great detail. But there is a portion of that I want to cite in this topic of switching the disha of the chintanam from drishya to drik. And this is given very nicely in Drikdrishya Viveka. And I'll just cite, for the lack of time, I will just cite the vakyas that I'm going to talk about in the next class. And that's an introduction to going over to the second part of the mantra, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, etc. It's an introduction to it. It's a very beautiful introduction to it. So here it goes. It starts with verse number 20. And I will go up to let's see how many. I'll go up to 5 or 6 more verses. So it's how. So it starts with verse number 20. Asti bhati priyam rupam nama chetyam shapanchakam adyatrayam brahma rupam jagat rupam tato dvayam. Kavayuak nirjalor vishu devatiryang naradishu abhinnaha satchidanandaha vidyete rupanamani upekshanama rupe dve satchidananda tatparaha samadhim sarvada kuryat hridaye vatava bahi savikalpo nirvikalpaha samadhir dvividho hridi drisya shabdanuvedena savikalpa punardvidha kamadya chittaga drishyaha tatsakshittvena chetanam dhyaye drisyanuvriddhoyam samadhi savikalpakaha asangah satchidanandaha saprabhadvaita varjitaha asmiti shabdavidhoyam samadhi savikalpakaha swanubhuti rasaveshat drishyat shabdavupekshatu nirvikalpa samadhi syat nivatasthita deepavat. 26. These 7 verses, I think you will, I'm going to make that as a course that I'm going to put that as part of the podcasts anyway, but I'll take these 7 verses and explain this in terms of the reason why and the method why, how we can switch our drishti from watching a movie to becoming the producer of the movie. This is providing a very beautiful segment to it. I happened to read it while I was reading Swami Kandananda's commentary on Drikdishya Viveka, and I thought this is so relevant to what we are doing that I'm going to take the time out to bring those aspects up before we rejoin the second part of the 7th mantra of Mandukya Upanishad. So with that, I'll close the class today. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. sorry to hear that, Shanti Kumar. That is just, I think that is really a very shattering blow in our lives if we lose our own children before we do. So I can understand what your friend must have gone through. Yeah, the laws of, it says in our Shastra that please do not try to understand the laws of karma. Not try to understand meaning, you can understand it, but see it from the standpoint that in the larger analysis, this has to happen that way. I think for those of you, I've given some eulogies on this, and I always make this point that when I was like 9 years old, I had a teacher in the class, Mrs. Sate, who was so good, and I was so much impressed and in love with her that one day when she was taken away from us, I cried. And my Nana Nani at home were saying, "Why are you so upset? It's okay." But I just couldn't believe it. And finally it dawned on me that Mrs. Sate was needed someplace else that I didn't understand. So from my perspective, I was at great loss with it, and justifiably so. But at a larger level, she was needed someplace else. Actually, in this case, she was promoted. So what happens to these children who are 30 to 35 years old? In the larger scheme of things, they're needed someplace else, more importantly than here. For the people that lost it, don't accept that, but we should look at it that way. That's what the law of karma is. But the Shastra says, please, don't try to overdo this because it's very deep. There are reasons that can come up after several lives that have suddenly happened. Some old karma somewhere come around. The Ishvara has to deal with a lot of things, and you don't try to oversimplify it. It's quite understandable that you are either happy or unhappy because of your situation, but that doesn't mean, this is what I tell whenever there is a bereavement, that it is okay to be bereaved. It's okay to bereave, but not okay to be disillusioned. Yeah, that's the word I would look for. Good. Thank you, Kalpana. I think this is something you should. I think you already know this, but you should appreciate it. That what I am living and what I'm teaching is what this teaching is all about. I have the same issues. It's not as though that I'm beginning to really see this very clearly in my life. It's really helping me a lot. But I still have ways to go. And so in some ways, our discussions are a reflection of my own life. You should see this. It's not as though I'm just telling you something that I don't believe in or don't understand or nothing like that. So anyway, good. Happy that you are. So we have to figure out how best to do that. I think obviously have limitations of time and so on, but I think that these 2 or 3 methods that I've outlined in terms of my own time is that once a week class, and I hope to really supplement it with a series of podcasts, and then maybe in October we will meet together in a more intensive way. So anyway, with that. All right, very good. Hari Om.